is this? It is God's love.
Okay. I think it's almost evening, right? I see a lot of people already fagged out. No problem, a cup of coffee should, and my interesting speech should activate your brain cells or neurons or whatever we call it. Okay, a quick introduction about myself rather than what he said. I've been in the security industry for almost 16 odd years, running companies like McAfee, Trend Micro, you name the kind of companies. And it's a kind of a passion for me that I never moved out of security. And personally, it's more, like Madam pointed out, it's more of a PSR, CSR, what you do to the industry. Then comes my profession as a director of sales for Checkpoint, what we are going to do, how we are going to do, and look at what I'm going to talk. Our children played with toys in their play areas. What do you see on the screen? Everyone is familiar with this, right? My children did play this. Now, go to 2025. Can you imagine our children are going to play with robots? It's what is going to happen. I'm not saying this. All the guys, even John Chambers in the last week, when he talked about, he said security is a big, big concern. Not because just of IT, it's because of many other factors which I'm going to talk about. So the same children in 2025 are going to tell their mother, I am in the play area. Doing what? With some gadget with them. Yes, I am in the play area. But look at the kind of shift which is going to happen. And what happens because of this? We drift along, but can't control evolution. Today, I heard so many eminent speakers talking about IT integrated into solutions and how they can reach out to the customers, reach out to citizens, right? And this is what we're going to do. But there is a dark side to all this. What's the dark side? Let's understand and give a peek into this. 2 seconds before, I said technology evolution in last 5 years. There are 3 major things which has been happening around. One is the terminology IoT. It's very close to my heart. I keep speaking in most of the forums about IoT, across Internet of Things. Mobile cloud. I don't know what happened. You guys can hear me? Mobility. No longer you have those desktops, you have those tabs, you don't have those, but it is all right in front of you, it is this mobile. The other thing which people are talking about, most of the industry guys, you need to change the microphone? Okay. is data analytics. People in the IT industry know about this, data crunching, extreme big data, terabytes of data. This is also an evolution which has happened in the last 5 years. And the evolutions to come is going to be even more scary. Can you believe that organizations like us today have solutions for remote controlled cars? What I mean by that is no man involved. That's the way evolution has been happening. Now companies like us, when you come out with a solution, there has to be a need, right? And the need is already there, which I'll touch upon a little bit. The agenda here is about Digital India. We heard a lot of initiatives taken by different state governments, different central governments, different secretaries. The program is to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge. And that's where IT is a very, very prime key enabler, which we all believe. Maybe 5 years or 6 years back, when I've spoken in forums, people never used to believe that. But today, we all know that this is going to be a real driver. Let's take a little bit peek into what is this Digital India all about. A lot of them talked about their processes, procedures, products. Now these are the 9 points, the 9 pillars of Digital India, which talks about starting from Broadway, highways to early harvest programs to IT for jobs, etc., etc. This is being integrated into all the government establishments today. Now when you talk about this, the dark side which I talked, in the US today people all will accept, right? 100% US is using data, IT in an efficient way. Do you guys all agree? Yes? Yes. Now when you look at the other side, White House, computers are hacked, information is getting leaked, people are trying to use it for various things, which doesn't come out in the media so often. Now look at this. This is one of a data leak which happened in the White House. Now how is the dark world using this information and what is their advantage? Go to the next one. People in the internet security industry know about Ashley Madison. It was like a dating site. Anonymously people used to go and start dating. Now what happened, there is the kind of a connection between the first incident and the second incident. What is that? After a stipulated period, the hack which happened in the White House was related to Ashley Madison, and even the defense establishment in the US was under doldrums for some time. Now, what do you mean by this? So there are different hack attacks which have been happening. We only related to that particular point, but they connect the dots, and there is a huge kind of a threat which has been looming. With this, I would say no one is immune, including me, including you, everyone. If there is a targeted attack which has been done in the digital era, they can actually break into any kind of thing. So what do? It's from startups to organizations to governments to huge data. Now let's look at it a little bit more. It's not going to be easy to become a CISO or a security administrator or any of the kind of positions basically to control data. A little bit technology. Yes, let's keep it for a while and talk about what is it, the kind of complexities which have been involved. It's more of an education which I will talk about. When data started proliferating, there are a lot of these points which started coming, starting from availability and scalability, compliance, data security, data leakage, incident mitigation. All this became a big issue for most of the IT people. So what did we do? These are all non-linear objective based on the projects which have been coming up. What are the linear actions? The security industry started growing from a point solution perspective. Today, many of the people sitting here do release RFPs saying that I need a firewall there, I need an IPS there. These are all the point solutions which started coming. And look at the topmost end. Where is it today? We are talking about anti-APT. I will talk a little bit more about APT once you go. This is what the industry has grown. This is what the digital transformation has made for the other side. So what do?
We strongly believe in linear action. When you find a problem, you want to eliminate it. That is how we do, right? Now, in the process, what happens to all those nonlinear objects which I talked, related to the graph which I talked about? You don't know. It's a big, big risk out there. So the only solution the industry has been talking today is to go one step behind and understand what is there so that you can go 2 steps ahead. It's a traditional police and thief game which has been happening in the data, the data industry. So what do? The writing is on the wall. It happens to everyone. It happens every day. Most of them keep quiet. Some of them openly say. Some of them, the law doesn't allow them to say. I'm going to take a couple of examples because there are so many incidents in the government sector which we are not authorized to talk. So I will take a commercial example and go through the complete chain, what we call it as a cyber chain. Okay, what happens? So many unknown malwares, exploits, botnets, trojans. So I still remember when I started my career in security, we used to talk about only antivirus. That's the only thing which was there. So people would say, oh, I have a virus, I need to have an antivirus. Today, look at the proliferation of various things which have been there, and ultimately it has come to a stage saying that how do you protect unknown threats? Block the unknown threats. That is the stage which the industry has actually come in. Why we are talking a little bit on all this is because the threats have become very, very strategic. The threats have become multi-stage. The threats have become evasive. Let's say whatever infrastructure you have, you have, and whatever skill sets you have, it's going to become very, very difficult for anyone to really understand the trends of these threats. And that's the reason the attacks have become very, very dangerous. Now, I'm part of Checkpoint. Our DNA is security. We are an Israel-based company for the last 20 years, listed in NASDAQ. The biggest the biggest internet security vendor, protecting 80% of the enterprises across the globe. You name it in India, any of the critical infrastructure, Checkpoint is protecting. And my earlier speaker said about Meghraj project, we are one of the key components. He's just nodding his head. We are one of the key components who have been sitting there. That's the kind of experience and exposure what we have in this industry. And so, we cannot just give a product and say that we are protecting everything. It's about preparedness. It's about how we are bringing it down into a solution and enabling the customers. It cannot be done by just Checkpoint Technologies alone. It's about collaboration. Not one vendor will be able to come and give you a solution and say that, boss, I am protecting you. No way. There are so many things which needs to go in, which in my subsequent slides you will understand. And these modern threats require sophisticated defense strategy. It's about strategy, and you know how Israel has been surviving in the whole world? Average guys. So there is always a thought process of survival. Now let's go a little bit deeper and understand what happens in a hack attack, right? Let's understand what is the victim's perspective, the banality of cyber attacks, how deep it is, how painful it is. You'll just quickly, 2 slides, I'll tell you this. A seemingly innocent guy, a familiar customer sends an email, he goes and just clicks on it, which we all do. Something interesting, right? Once you click it, you open an unprotected attached file, and what happens? Within seconds, his computer is actually locked, encrypted, and the dark world, for people who do not know the dark world, just like how the internet world is there, there is a dark world which stays there and who is actually doing a lot of, harm or trying to keep us always on the toes. So what it's been asking is, give me some bitcoins, otherwise your files will not be open. Now, there are only 2 things which can be done. Either you pay the ransom guy, or you look for your backup. You have any option. The IT administrator who just comes and says, I'm not going to pay this A, B, or C. Why should I pay? He is a hacker, right? Now, this is the dilemma which a security director really goes. Should I pay the ransom or restore some backup? I know that my backup works. And country like India, you go to a backup after a long time and you're going to get it back. Saying that, look at it, your backup is broken. You don't know because you don't bother about backup. Backups come later and 7 months of business data is lost. So for various organizations or financial organizations, 7 months of business data is equal to huge whopping money. For a critical organization, 7 months of data loss is like a, I don't know, people would lose jobs. This is the kind of impact what an attacker actually does. Now we look at from the victim's perspective. Let's go down and see the attacker's perspective. What is he actually doing there? It's not about writing a program and trying to get in. He does a planning and an execution of a cyber attack. What does he do during the planning? He does weeks of research. He understands what kind of systems you have. He understands your behavioral patterns. Any of you guys today just go to Google or just use this Ola cap, they start selecting, asking you, can allow me to tag you to this place, and you blindly say yes. Every information is actually going down somewhere centrally. So during the planning of an attack, there are 3 different parameters which needs to be taken, and that's how they plan an attack. The reason why we are looking at that side is we need to actually protect. In the military term, people who have served the military, they know what is reconnaissance is. It is like preparation of understanding what has been happening before you attack. Then weaponization, right? What are the weapons you have based on what your enemy is? Then delivery. These are the 3 components in planning an attack. This is the easiest part. People generally think that getting in is the most difficult part. Getting in is the easiest part within seconds because there's days and years or months of planning which has already been done, and then he carries out the attack. So there are 2 stages in getting in. One is an exploitation, second is installation. Now when he carries out the attack, what happens is he actually controls. There is a communication which goes to the command center, and there is an objective for which the attack has been done. This is exactly how the cyber attack is done, which could be of different forms. It could be complex, it could be simple, it could be whatever. Now, when you really look at this, this is called as the cyber kill chain. Any kind of an hack attack. Today we are not talking about viruses. We are not talking about bugs. We are not talking about that. We are talking about targeted attacks, which has got the 7 odd basis in that. So please, this could be a takeaway for you today, is that there is a cyber kill chain. How is that we are protecting each of the components of a cyber kill chain, rather than just looking at the infrastructure, or rather than just looking at the devices which happens. So this is a typical example. The same ransomware which I talked about. What are the components here in terms of the attack? Quickly I'll tell you. Locate an email address. That is the first component. It's a preparedness what he was doing. Then create an infected PDF. That's a weaponization what he was doing. Send a spoofed email address with PDF. That's a kind of a delivery. And believe me, even before I got exposed to this, I used to think delivery was the toughest component. But in reality, delivery is the fastest component which actually gets it. Then you have an installation, then you have this command and control, and then it's done. So with this kind of persistent threats which has been happening, like I show the terminology on the slide which talks about APT, anti-APT. APT means advanced persistent threats. What it means is like you have a target and you want to ensure that you want to deliver that particular attack on the target, and it doesn't happen in just one attack. It could be consistent attacks which could happen. So this is another example of multifaceted attacks which keep happening, and many organizations. Why I'm taking this, I'm not taking any government examples because we are in India, we are not allowed to speak about it. That's the reason I am taking commercial examples which are available, which has been known, which has got certain feedback in the marketplace. So what's our learning in this? The learning is very clear. Timing is everything. It's all about timing. Now when you say timing is everything, what it means is if you don't detect an attack within your network, the more delay it takes, the more loss you're going to suffer. When I say losses, it need not be just monetary, it could be many things related to your process, related to your delivery, related to any of these things. The longer it takes to contain it, the more it will cost. That's the point which I wanted to drive. What do we do now? It's high time that we need to break this chain. If we don't break this chain right now, we are going to have issues. It's not about a product, it's not about the solution, it is actually security is all about the strategy. And why strategy? Because I talked about saying that it's no longer your desktops or laptops, it's your mobile, it's your cloud, it's your Internet of Things. It is about beyond the endpoints. In one of the ministries, it was very interesting. I was discussing with the secretary. He was saying, why didn't you put some chips into each of the trees? So that if a tree is being cut, we know that there is a certain amount of signal which has been coming in and we know that this is being done. So these are the kind of, so just imagine the endpoint actually becomes a tree. It's not your mobile, it's not, that's how the proliferation of Internet of Things has been happening. So how do you break this? If you ask me in a nutshell, I would say, avoid if you can. Can you avoid it? You cannot, because you need to be exposed. Don't make it easier for attacks for publicly volunteering your data. This is a tough task. Businesses, you need to know, like when all the esteemed speakers said, we want to be transparent to the citizen, and the citizen needs to come back. There has to be an interactive. Is it easy? It's a tough task. Make every effort to prevent it. Good, that can be done. But is it the right thing what you're doing? Contain and detect as soon as possible. Don't linger. Many of the people I've also seen on the corporate board, especially in the banking side, I'm from Bombay, I interact with most of the CIOs of the BFSI segment, and they are literally scared to come out and say that they have been hacked. Only some of the banks today have come out and said, with the NPCI and RBI being on this side, saying that yes, we have been DDoSed. You would have been hearing all this. Only now they started saying. Earlier, none of them used to say, unless and until some investigative journalists go and just dig deep and say, hey, this has been done, or the user comes and says, I lost some 20 lakhs out of my savings again. That used to be the case. But today, if you really look at it, the banks come forward and say, boss, we have been DDoSed. What it means is there has been an unauthorized access which has gone into a network. The reason why, again, I'm saying is I'm not talking about the government, because we support and protect most of the critical infrastructures. We are aware of the challenges, but we do not want to, disclose those things. That's the reason why I'm taking. So, what is a successful defense strategy? A successful defense strategy contains, you need to compartmentalize into three different areas. One is pre-compromise, second is your compromise, and third is your post-compromise. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is, when you go back and look at when you go back and look at the kind of proposals what you have been putting out for applications and rolling out schemes, you need to be very clear about these three components. First is pre-compromise stage. In the pre-compromise stage, what are the kind of technical solutions you have? What are the capabilities or manpower do you have, number one? Number two, on the compromise stage, what are the kind of inputs and defending mechanisms which you need to put? And after compromise, what do you do? So if you really look at the pre-compromise stage, it applies protection of each of the stages. Then you have to have different technologies to protect, and after the compromise, you have to get into real forensics. So this is the pain point which has been going on. Now, I talked about APT. APT, persistent threats. Persistent threats have been happening between nations and nations. Today, you'll be reading in the newspaper that our Prime Minister wants to travel to Israel. There's a lot of information technology download happening, etc., etc. In fact, the government of Maharashtra, the CM was in our office in the street. right? We actually 80 to 90% protect Israel's cyber infrastructure. And we do share this technology with many of the countries as well. Now, with this, again coming back to the successful defense strategy, there are two areas. One is prevent your known attacks. If you know that there is an attack which is coming in, you can actually prevent this. But when you know that there is an unknown attack, what is required? You need to have a preparedness for it. And that's why today, being people in the industry would know about sandboxing. Sandboxing is nothing but building up a test lab in your network so that you can actually analyze the data which has been coming. You would have heard, there are a lot of vendors who talk about sandboxing, but we have gone 2 steps ahead, and what we talk about is sandblasting, which I will not cover, because it's not a technical forum. In a technical forum, we could talk in detail about what is sandblasting, what is the difference of sandboxing, etc., etc. So the successful defense happens with checkpoint. Again, I would like to reiterate, it's not about buying A product or B product or C product. It's about building up a strategy for your business delivery mechanism so that you can actually take care of the complete cyber kill chain. So the successful defense with checkpoint, winning every technology at every step. Now, if you really look at this, in the first phase, we have our IPs and firewalls. We are actually known in the marketplace as firewall vendors. Every critical infrastructure, every enterprise, every mid-size, I would put it, already been using our solutions in the IPs and the firewall space. Then, weaponization. What do you have for weaponization? It's about threat intelligence. I talked about collaboration. No single vendor can stand here and say that I am the best secure cybersecurity partner for you and protect you. No one can do that. It's all about collaboration. And for technical people, we just integrate this to our SIEMs. We have our cyber threat feed. It could be from the other vendors as well. And that would actually give a real collaborative protection for the infrastructure or for any kind of application delivery. Then from the delivery perspective, we've got our firewalls, anti-spam, threat prevention, and the compromise. The portion of compromise is about exploitation. It's about installation. You might have already these kind of solutions in your in your infrastructure, in your delivery mechanism, and post-compromise is where your endpoint, document security, everything comes into place. So with best intelligence, the best detection, and best prevention, you would have all this kind of solutions integrated into one with a kind of a smart management is what. It's a very, whenever I have conversations with most of the senior people who take care of these projects, what they tell me is, Ajit, today we have almost 42 security vendors in my infrastructure. Right? You can say 42 security. Yes, we don't believe one guy. We want to have so many people, so that even if one fails, the other comes. Now, what has happened is, even Gartner today talks about consolidation. Is it that your job is to protect your infrastructure or is to manage all these vendors? Interoperability is a problem. If a hack attack happens and you want your SIM to throw all the information out and it's not working because your IPS vendor doesn't give the information to your SIM. A simple, typical technical term which I use. Now, what is the use of having 42 security vendors when a real hack attack happens and you're not able to respond? That is where this incident response started coming into the industry, and much more critical infrastructures have started using it. And India, there are a lot of skill sets for incident response. Even if you look at our support centers, which customers are using, most of the technical knowledge actually goes in from India. So a single unified platform is required, and that's the reason I put the prelude there, because you cannot have so many management screens. Like I'll tell you, we did a DDoS simulation attack to one of the major guys in the country. What happened was, he didn't inform his business people, he didn't inform his delivery people, he didn't inform the application guys. Only the CISO and the top management and the security team knew. When the DDoS simulation attack was done, he had to open 14 windows to understand what has been happening. And ultimately, what was done is, they told the ISP saying that, boss, there is something happening, increase your kind of a bandwidth so that my business process doesn't stop, or my internet banking doesn't stop. This was what was said, but it is all a learning. And what happens is the more our country is becoming prominent, the more these kind of we are prone to this targeted attacks. Why is it all the attacks are happening in the US? India, we're not hearing much because we don't have a framework, we don't have a law where you can actually go and say, yes, boss, I am DDoS. But currently, some of the people are coming forward, talking about it, and that's a good sign, right? So, getting back to what I said earlier about APT and what the industry talked about, there are a lot of things, a lot of myths which is going about APT. There are a lot of vendors who are coming and saying, hey, I can give you advanced persistent threat protection. Okay? Now, how do you do it? They say a sandbox. Now, the reason why I put the slide here is, this is also a takeaway. Whenever you are meeting vendors, whenever a solution has been projected to you, whenever you have a project which needs to be rolled out, please and go into the brass tacks of how security is being enabled from ground zero. It's not about antivirus, it's not about a firewall, it's not about an IPS. End to end. However, what is the strategy which you're adopting? Today, you cannot just believe on your info saying that I've got a firewall, I've got all this, it's been protected. It's just seconds it can be bypassed. It's our responsibility to ensure that there is protection, but it is also your responsibility to ensure a preparedness to actually protect this. And I would say always, whenever I speak, I say first I'm a citizen of the country. I would like to protect my assets. I'd like to protect our country's assets first. And then comes your professionalism or whatever. And that's there in our DNA. Going into the sandblast, what is the difference between a sandbox and a sandblast? In simple terms, sandblast is actually protection at the OS level, at the CPU level. We are not talking about any separate appliance or a solution or a strategy here. It's actually built into our solutions at the OS level. How do you do it at the OS level? I have my technical team here. You guys can just talk on the side. Yes, we look for anomalies on the bit level, and it happens. And it's always like this. The moment you have a protection, the dark world is actually looking, how do you break this? That's the thrill what they have. And when I was in Moscow in one of the PhDs event, it's called as Positive Hack Days, I think there are some colleges from Kerala who also participated. 10-year-old boy could actually take control of a drone from just a URL. He was given just a URL, www.xyz.com or whatever. He took control of it, and he could ensure that it has been flown out of the room outside. That's the way the dark web is. And the collaboration in the dark web is huge. It's much more than us. It's like here, one department doesn't speak to the other department. In the dark world, it's not that. They collaborate. What is that you want? You want to bring A down? Let's collaborate together. Let's pool in our resources together. That's the way it works. So that is also a signal for us to actually get the preparedness so that we can actually be ahead of them. Now, what do we do basically in sandblast? We block and identify. We actually detect the malicious infections of activities and contain and respond. And we accelerate the response to infections because it is at the CPU or at the core chip level. It's not you're not doing it at the high level. So that's the reason why the sandblast and the sandblast agent which works. Now, I don't know how many of you people actually are talking to vendors or even looking at implementing APT solutions. Yeah. Can I see any hands? Anyone is talking about implementing APT? Not yet. But if you really look at the commercial side, there is an RBI mandate which has been given that every bank needs to have an APT solution. Otherwise, you cannot do transaction. NPCI will not even approve your payment gateway for them. Now, what is this APT all about? It's nothing but which I talked all this while, advanced persistent threat, and tomorrow it is going to become mandatory for anyone who is doing any kind of an activity on the internet that there's going to be an APT solution which needs to be part of your infrastructure or part of your practice. Now, having said that, we protect everywhere in any form factors. We started off with networks. People who are technical here have been 100% sure they've been certified by Checkpoint, because Checkpoint invented stateful inspection, and we still have debated. And from there we moved on. We have this endpoint, different solutions for it, and mobility. That's another form factor which I'm talking about. We have different solutions because your endpoint intermediary is mobile. Any app which has been downloaded. People have been talking about buying MDM solutions. When you buy an MDM solution and you have an application, it is containerized. We actually acquired a company which can hack into these containers, right? We are talking about data protection, and that's the reason we are 2 steps ahead than the industry. It's like a catch-up. Today we have, tomorrow there will be a niche. It's very interesting. Like in Checkpoint, we would have almost 80 to 90 odd companies who are creating new IPs. When I say IPs, the real IPs, invention, and getting integrated to our solutions. Data center, software is the way to go. SDDC, which we are talking about. Software-defined data centers. VMware has been pushing through. Cisco has been talking about ACI. We've got various other vendors. Protection of east-west traffic. We already have solutions there. Cloud, very interesting. We have a relationship with Microsoft, and people are all wanting to put on cloud. What kind of protection? Our business is only into protection of data. We are into internet security and internet security and internet security only. There are other people in the marketplace who actually, from the networking side, because our thinking has been, I showed you the graph, it's been like point products. Say that, okay, you buy a switch, can you give me something to protect on top of it? Put up a security. I have secure connection. It doesn't work anymore like that. Because data is very important and everything is good. Before I move into my last 2 slides, we not only do protection for the internet framework, we also do for the industrial ICS. We protect a lot of SCADA networks. That's the reason I kept on saying critical infrastructure, right? We also protect many of the prominent SCADA guys, and our technical guys can give you much more detail. So to sum it up, connecting the dots from where I began, the children playing on the playground, to the whatever 2025, how children are going to play, and today, it's simple. We cannot stop the evolution. The evolution is going to happen. And when this evolution is going to happen, there is going to be a dark side which is going to come, and it's already there, and we need to be prepared to protect the dark side. So having said that, Checkpoint threat protection. There are so many vendors in the marketplace who only detect, and you come back and tell you, boss, we detect it. No. We always believe in blocking. And that is one. All our solutions in different form factors, we block the attacks faster. Second, every solution of ours, we don't just protect partially or half or 3/4 or whatever. We protect all of the modern IT assets. Then we are not separate technologies working in silos. This is one word which I've been hearing from the morning, silos, silos, silos. We are an integrated solution which actually fits into any kind of form factor, and actually we could take it forward. Now, this is going to be my end of my presentation, and this place is very close to my heart. That's the reason why I said when this opportunity was there, because I belong to Kerala, though I've been out traveling around the world. So, questions, you can ask me in Malayalam also, I can say.